All right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Monday, November 4th. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. Clayton, let's get into it. This was a very important box office weekend. In a lot of ways, maybe the most important box office weekend of our lifetime. So we have to get into this. So, Clayton, could you give us a plow for the box office weekend of Friday, November 1st, 2024?
Number one, Venom: The Last Dance made $26.1 million, down only 49%. No theater change. It's at $90 million in its second weekend of release. Number two, The Wild Robot made $7.5 million, plus 11%. It lost 196 theaters. It's at $121.4 million in its sixth weekend of release. Number three, Smile 2 made $6.8 million, down 29%. It lost 389 theaters. It's at $52.6 million in its third weekend. Number four, Conclave made $5.3 million, down 20%. It added 43 theaters. It's at $15.2 million in its second weekend. And number five, Here made $5 million in its first weekend. Now let's just go down to seven here. Lucky number 11. Because number six, We Live in Time, made $3.4 million, down only 28%. No theater change. It's at $17.6 million in its fourth weekend. And number seven, Terrifier 3, made $3.2 million, down only 32%. After losing 363 theaters, it's at $50.5 million in its fourth weekend of release. And Pat, obviously, we've got to talk about a movie that's not showing up on these charts.
Yeah.
But we got to get back to Terrifier. We got to get back to Terrifier 3 at some point, but let's talk about the absence.
Yeah. I mean, there is a movie missing here that its absence speaks louder than the title of any movie that is in this top five, in this top 10. Clint Eastwood's Juror number 2 is, of course, not on any of these lists. And it's not because the audience didn't want this movie. It's not because it doesn't have critical acclaim. It's not because it doesn't connect with an audience. Juror number 2 is not on here because of one man, David Zaslov, and the fact that David Zaslov is basically not putting this in movie theaters. It opened in 34 screens, Clayton. A Clint Eastwood down the middle crowd pleaser opened on 34 screens this weekend.
Here's the thing. The reason it's not on the chart at all is they're not reporting box office.
Jesus.
So not only are they keeping this movie that we're seeing, I mean, look, We Live in Time. I know that's skewing younger, but that is an old-fashioned sort of Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
Conclave, still holding strong. Classic Oscar baity adult movie. I mean, what is more Oscar baity than this movie? Nothing.
Yep. Bunch of people talking about priests. We'll get to those, but yes, there are down the middle old fashioned adult dramas that are playing well at the box office right now.
But there's one thing: if you're Netflix and you're putting a movie in 35 theaters and not reporting box office. But you are Warner Brothers.
Right.
You're a major studio. You report box office. That's what you do. You report box office on everything you put out because you are a major studio that puts movies in theaters. That is what you do. There's no reason not to do this. You know, the reason not to do this is to save face or try to save face because you're going to see these per theater averages. You're going to see the amount of money this thing made in its small, tiny release, and people are going to come at you and call you an idiot.
Yeah.
And you deserve it. And they're going to figure it out. Deadline, Anthony D is for
finding truth.
Yeah, truth detective work. This guy's got it. This guy's doing estimates because he knows how much of an atrocity this is. Yeah. He's saying it's shaping up to be 260 to 275,000 in the weekend.
Yeah. Across 34 theaters. That is
35 theaters. I don't know why you keep saying 34. It's 35 locations.
Okay. Give them that. 35 locations.
Okay. I mean,
Very important you said that, but let's go on.
But you keep saying 34 and it's 35. So I'm just saying
very important, very important.
We can't take one theater away from him. Okay.
Very important you said that.
So you keep talking. I'm going to do a little math here.
So here's the thing. This is all David Zaslav's fault. And I think it is time, Clayton, that we stop pussyfooting around this.
Okay.
Because it has been years with David Zaslav. Years of this behavior. Years of him being in charge of Warner Brothers, and people are, well, we don't like what he's doing here, but he is in charge of Warner Brothers. Well, we don't like what he did with Batgirl, but that's what he does. I'm done with it. I'm done with David Zaslav. I'm done talking about David Zaslav and all of his missteps and all these horrible things that David Zaslav is doing. Clayton, I'm just sick of this guy.
Okay.
And it's time for David Zaslav to go.
Go away.
It's time to be done with this guy, to move on. We've got to move on from David Zaslav. It has been years of putting up with his buffoonery and putting up with these terrible things he says about the movie industry, and these moves that are destroying what was once the home of Clint Eastwood and Ben Affleck and Bradley Cooper, and he's driving them all away.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sick of talking about this guy. I don't want to do it anymore.
I know. It's like his name annoys me.
Yes.
His face annoys me.
Yes.
His ridiculous decisions annoy me.
Yes.
Based on hubris and tax cuts,
yes.
tax tax write-offs.
Tax write-offs. That's what David Zaslav's thing is. All these tax write-offs. He took Batgirl and just threw her under the bus for tax purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks audiences forgot about that. But I'll tell you, I don't think audiences have forgotten.
No.
I don't think female audiences have forgotten what he did to Batgirl.
No.
And he gets away with things year after year. But I think we have finally hit the point where he's not going to be able to get away with this anymore because of what he did to Clint Eastwood. And I think that is going to be the point. What he did this weekend to Clint Eastwood with Juror number 2, I think we finally hit a point where David Zaslav cannot get away with it any longer.
It's the last straw.
I think this is going to be where people rise up because he has finally targeted an audience and a segment of the population that's not going to take it anymore. And that is older audiences. For what he did to Clint Eastwood, I think he's done. I think David Zaslav is done after this. Because I think people have had it with David Zaslav. They've had it with him.
Yeah.
And
I think so too.
It's time for him to go. It's time for David Zaslav to fully be off of our television screens, off of our podcasts, people having to talk about David Zaslav. It's time for this to end.
I mean, do you really want all the water cooler conversation to be about Zaslav for another, I don't know,
years,
couple years? Yeah. 4 years. 4 years.
We can't have 4 more years of talking about David Zaslav.
No.
It's
too much.
We can't. It's just tiring. Here's the thing. Even if you're someone who's listening to this right now and you're saying, I like some of the things David Zaslav has done or said over the years. Maybe you liked it when he took the Scooby-Doo movie and he said, this isn't worth releasing. You were like, I hate Scooby-Doo.
Mm-hmm.
That's an enemy of mine, is Scooby-Doo. I like when David Zaslov, put down Scooby-Doo. All right, maybe you like that. Or maybe you're someone, I was for the collab. Of course, the collab, that worked out. So, sometimes you do something and it works. So you're someone, I like some of the things David Zaslov has done. Some of the things he said. You're someone like that. But do you want to just keep hearing about David Zaslov? And do you want to keep having these giant missteps like Juror number 2's release? And do you want someone who, let's say it, buddying up to a Todd Phillips? That's what David Zaslov is. Just gave Todd Phillips free reign to do whatever he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want more of that? Do you want more of that? Because that's what David Zaslov is about. Buddying up to Todd Phillips.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And look who he's kicked to the curb.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck. Yes.
Clint Eastwood. Who else is
Nolan.
Christopher Nolan. Nolan.
Going over to Universal. If you're Warner Brothers, because of David Zaslov, Universal's laughing at you.
Yeah.
Laughing at you.
Mm-hmm.
Sony's laughing at you. They're laughing at you.
When Zaslov started,
He lost Greta Gerwig.
Yeah.
Yeah, Greta Gerwig made Barbie for Warner Brothers, and where is she now? She's at Netflix. Netflix is laughing at you. Because of David Zaslov, Warner Brothers is a laughingstock.
And when he first got into power, he had some people. He had some people you could say, oh, I like Clint, I like Affleck, I like this, I like that.
Right.
Now he's got nobody.
They're gone.
Who's he got? I mean, he's got James Gunn, right? I guess he's got James Gunn, but I don't think James Gunn's too happy about being the only guy in the lot right now.
Right. And are we trusting that it's all up to James Gunn to ward off David Zaslov's worst intentions?
Yeah. This buffoonery, he can't. One man can't deal with such large amounts of buffoonery.
And look at this weekend. Juror number 2, it gets this terrible domestic rollout from David Zaslov. And then you go overseas, it's making a couple of $1 million in France. It's making millions of dollars in international markets. The rest of the world is laughing at David Zaslov.
Pat,
laughing at him.
While you've been talking, and this has all been great. It's all been great stuff. Really powerful stuff. It's important.
It's the most important weekend of I would say this show's history because of hitting this point with David Zaslov. It's the most important box office weekend we've ever covered.
I did a little math.
Mm-hmm.
And let me know just from the smell test whether you think this math is close or accurate.
Okay.
We're assuming that this movie made $275, right?
Yes.
High end, right? Because we believe in Clint. We believe in this movie.
Yep.
So I did a little math, 35 theaters, because it's important. That's why I corrected you. I did not correct you to be a jerk or to be a pill or to be glib. I did it because I wanted to make this math as accurate as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So divided that number of theaters by how much the movie supposedly made, right?
Okay.
To get a per theater average.
Yes.
That math all works out. I did some multiplication. And if this movie would have been released in the same amount of theaters as Venom, which it should have been, it would be the number 1 movie in America.
Wow.
With $28.9 million.
Wow.
Now, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing with that.
Okay.
It would have gone higher. And the reason it would have gone higher is because of advertising.
Yes.
Because people would know that it was coming out. Because it would be in between every single football timeout.
Yes.
And the people who are sitting on their Barca loungers watching football would say, Clint's got a new movie. It's about law. It's got that kid in it that was in
The Menu.
whatever the Menu. We liked the Menu when we saw it on HBO Max. And then they go see this movie. I would say this movie, and I'm being conservative,
Mm-hmm.
$40 million opening.
Okay.
Because that's what advertising does.
Yes, it gets people to know that something exists, which did not happen with Juror number 2. Thank you to David Zaslov, whose name, again, we had to say it.
Yeah.
Again, we had to say it.
We're sick of saying it. We're sick of thinking about him. We're sick of talking about him. You know, and that's
this billionaire who was just ruining one of our great institutions, Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's got to end. I mean, I'm calling for it. Warner Brothers board of directors, other investors. It's vote on it. Get rid of him. Do it as soon as possible.
Oust this guy.
You got to end this. So just board of directors at Warner Brothers. Obviously the BO Boys drops on a Monday morning, so it'll take time to put it together. Do it on Tuesday. Do it on Tuesday. Vote. End this finally so we can move on and we don't have to hear the name David Zaslov anymore.
Yep. Yeah, man. Listen, Venom had a great hold.
Mm-hmm.
Held better than we thought.
Yes.
But he should have had competition at the top.
Oh, and Venom would have wanted it. Venom would have wanted some competition.
Yeah.
Third movie, Venom's that type of guy. He would have wanted some competition at the top. He didn't get any because of David. You know what? We got to stop saying his name. Hopefully the board of directors at Warner Brothers does the right thing, gets a vote together on Tuesday, and we move on from David Zaslov. So do you want to talk about the rest of this top 10?
Let's talk about the rest of this top 10, because I do think, Pat, we've got to, and we've talked about this, and we will at some point divvy up one of our signature segments, which, who knows, is ripe to be stolen because, of course, Daddy's Home got stolen. Yes. Granddaddy's Home is probably going to get stolen after our magnum opus last episode.
Yep.
This Terrifier 3 and this Wild Robot, there is no way enough people in week 6, and I know we say the rats need their cheese,
and they do.
Week 6, Halloween weekend. Nobody's caring about this tin can. Nobody cares about this tin can. Not this weekend. This is definitive proof that Wild Robot exists to be a gateway for young, under 18-year-olds to see Terrifier 3. So this is definitive for me that Wild Robot went up 11% on Halloween weekend. Pat, you were out in the streets for Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see a single Wild Robot?
I didn't see any children dressed as Wild Robot. I saw a lot of children. I have a very big trick-or-treat neighborhood. A lot of kids going around in costumes. We were giving out candy. And saw a lot of kids in inflatable dinosaur costumes. That seems to be the big thing.
They're very funny.
Seems like they seem like very difficult costumes, though, because the kids could not move their arms because it's little dinosaur arms. And there's, I guess, batteries involved to keep the air flow going in there. So that is a very complicated costume, but it definitely seems to be one of the most popular costumes that I saw, aside from various Disney IP. Of course, there's a lot of Disney IP. Every little girl is a Frozen or Moana or so on. Yeah. Did not see any Wild Robots. I'll tell you who I did see a lot of. And this is in maybe not the kids, but tweens. I was seeing some Art the Clowns. Well, you were also looking in a mirror. I was dressed as Art the Clown while myself and my wife handed out candy, and got a lot of thumbs up, got a lot of recognition for that.
Now, Pat,
these kids knew who Art the Clown is. They asked, "Did you see the movie?" I said, "Yeah." A lot of them hadn't seen it yet, but they knew of it. They knew of it.
So
they
curious.
Knew of it.
Curious,
Yes.
Pat.
Yeah.
These young people.
Yes.
Who hadn't seen Terrifier 3 yet.
Or
they ran into,
well,
because their parents were around?
Their parents.
I mean, that's
were
possible.
Around.
But here's the other possibility.
Mm-hmm.
You, a grown man dressed as Art the Clown, giving out candy.
Yes.
They asked, "Did you see it?" You said yes. Did they ask how it was?
They didn't ask how it was.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. They saw this guy so enthusiastic. He's dressed as Art the Clown. I'm going to buy a ticket to Wild Robot and go see Terrifier 3 this weekend. I think you drove the audience. I mean, this show has driven the audience, but you personally drove the audience because obviously New York, big theater going, movie theater going city. These kids were finally like, yo, that tall dude dressed like Art the Clown, he was cool. He gave me candy. I'm going to go see this movie. Like, there's no way.
And I'm not the only one. There were definitely other middle-aged people dressed as Art the Clown around the city, around various cities, who then little kids were trick-or-treating. They saw that and they thought, I got to see this Art the Clown movie.
Now, Pat, if you put a mop bucket over your head
and
wore a silver jumpsuit, no one would be like, oh, yo, Wild Robot.
Right.
I mean, they might say that as like, that robot is wild. Like, it's wild that person thinks a bucket on their head in a silver jumpsuit is a robot.
Right.
Like, they thought that you would think that was a great costume, so they'd be like, it's wild he thinks that's a robot. But there's no way they would be excited about Wild Robot.
So I think that we don't want to take away from Wild Robot is a hit. I think of its own accord. Rats Eat Their Cheese. This movie did catch on. It's probably going to win or be no worse than the second movie most likely to win Best Animated Feature. This is a hit. We've seen animated movies, obviously Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, really catch on, really have incredibly leggy runs. Kids come to it, they hear blah, blah, blah. But I do think the issue is, why this weekend would Wild Robot have gone up 11% after losing 196 theaters in its second weekend? That is the reason why we don't come here to discredit Wild Robot, to call it just a tin can with a mop on its head. I think then we start to be crass in the way that, a David Zaslov is crass and we want to go to her. We don't want to be that. But why did it go up this weekend?
Here's the thing. Wild Robot and Terrifier 3 are like Barbenheimer. If one of the movies was the only one monetarily benefiting from the symbiosis, right? That is the problem with this, is that we will never know how much the Wild Robot actually made on its own merits. Okay, I do think it is a hit, because if you were to subtract what I think is a conservative amount of money that is Terrifier money, $30 million.
Wow, you're going
even
that
if
high.
You take even if you take $30 million out of this movie, it still would be at 90. And that for a original, which of course it's based on a book, but no one reads a book, huh?
Yeah, books don't count as IP. Let's be honest.
An original,
it's not.
Yeah, an original animated movie making $90 million. And listen, it would still continue to make money. This thing will reach 100 by itself on its own merit. But Terrifier 3 could be at $80 million right now. Well, and I'm throwing a lot of math. I'm throwing a lot of math around this episode.
Yeah, you're
which I usually
a lot of spitball math. Yeah,
but I'm trying to make a point, and numbers make a point.
Yeah,
You don't think it's 30? What do you think? because I know we want to wait to divvy up the millions, but just throw out a number of Wild Robot tickets purchased to sneak into Terrifier 3.
So the thing is, I don't think that you could just say it's 30 million that would have went to Terrifier 3, because of course the issue is kids under 17 cannot get into Terrifier, cannot buy a ticket to Terrifier 3. So if Wild Robot didn't exist, then either they'd be buying tickets to other movies in the top 10, or they just wouldn't have gotten to see Terrifier 3 at all. And, that then leads to them buying less Terrifier 3 merch or talking about it on the internet. So, yes, kids are going to buy tickets to Wild Robot and then go see Terrifier 3. And that helps Wild Robot's total box office. But in return, Wild Robot is helping these kids see Terrifier 3 and talk about it on the internet and buy the merch and buy, the memes. I guess if you could buy memes, I'm not sure how that works. But I do think Wild Robot is also helping Terrifier 3. It's allowing these kids to experience it in a theater and become lifelong fans of it, so that when Terrifier 4 comes out in a few years,
they're of age.
And then they could buy that ticket. So
here's what I say.
I do think it's a good relationship. I do think Wild Robot and Terrifier 3, they're helping each other.
Listen, I said it was symbiotic. I didn't say it was parasitic. I didn't say it was parasitic.
But you said it was very one-way symbiotic, which is, you're basically saying it's parasitic.
See, you caught me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say you didn't catch me.
Yeah.
Here's what I say, though. This relationship should continue. I think if I'm Universal, I greenlight the Wild Robot 2, just because, why not?
It's a hit. Yep.
It's a hit. And I schedule it to be released the same weekend as Terrifier 4.
Yeah.
Right? Because
that would be ideal. That would be ideal. Yes.
It's going to be a couple years because you got to draw the pictures.
Right.
All the people got to draw the pictures, and they got to work 60 hours, and they got to piss in buckets the way they do. This is what animation studios do. Let's be honest. Okay.
Let's be honest. Yeah.
And
DreamWorks is no better than anyone else.
And the people who behind Terrifier, they work 60 hours. They piss in buckets, but they piss in buckets for fun.
Yeah.
They like it. They like to have a piss bucket under their desk when they're writing when they're directing it. They like to have bodily fluids around the set. That's how they work. So
when you say they, you're just talking about Damien Leone then.
He loves bodily fluids. I'm sure he pisses in buckets, and I'm for it.
Okay.
I'm for it. I think if whatever he's doing to get into the mindset of art, then do it, right? But what I'm saying is one of them is choosing to do it, one of them is not choosing to do it.
Okay.
Wild Robot animators
are not choosing. Where does The Rock fall into all this? Because now we've got a lot of, he's saying, he's tapping people on the shoulder saying, hey, I did this first.
His whole thing is,
and maybe we don't want to stay on this angle of it. Maybe we do want to.
Well, his whole thing is, here, hold my piss. Like, that's a whole different psychology.
He's handing it to PAs. That is the problem.
That's the thing is, he's like, here's a warm bottle of my piss. This is who I am, and this is who you are.
Right.
That's a problem. I think Damien Leone is
we could get away from this. Yeah.
He's dispensing of his own bucket.
Yeah, we could keep going. So
I'm off it now. I was just trying to finish a thought.
Terrifier 4 and Wild Robot 2, they need to sync that up for the release date.
I think going forward, every Wild Robot sequel should be coupled with a Terrifier product.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. It will almost have to be, does Terrifier want to wait for the next Wild Robot? Because the animated movies do take longer than the $2 million horror movies with a cast of virtual unknowns. So
then if you're Universal, you then pick another original IP animation and couple it with Terrifier 4.
Right.
That's
right.
also an option. And then if Terrifier 5 matches up with Wild Robot 2, then you do that. The OG coupling.
Here's what I'll throw out there.
All right.
Is it Shrek 5? It would be Shrek 5, right? Has that been dated already? Because that's the biggie for DreamWorks. And at this point, so it's Shrek 5 is July 2026. It is July 1st, 2026. So, I mean, that is DreamWorks Animation, Universal. That is their crown jewel, is the Shrek movies. And they got Shrek 5 coming out July 2026. Did they try and sync that up so that it releases the same weekend as Terrifier 4? And they could have the same piggyback, symbiotic relationship that Wild Robot and Terrifier 3 have had? Or does Shrek want nothing to do with it? What do you think?
2026 could be, if they're able to do it, it could be Shrek 5 and Terrifier 5. Right? Get the fourth one out next year. Right? Because what's been the spread?
No, 2 years. I don't think this is not the Saw movies where it's just you.
It is also the end of 2024. Okay, yeah. I think you do Terrifier 4 and you do Shrek 5.
Yeah.
You do the 4-5. I'm doing the 4-5. It'll sound like you're living in New York. What are you doing? I'm the 4-5.
Yeah, I think that would be a very interesting combo. It would have to be Terrifier moving out of October to go into July. I don't think DreamWorks is going to move Shrek into October to fit into Terrifier's plans.
But I think we're at this point with Terrifier. You're a summer movie, baby.
Wow. Okay.
I mean,
it's been done. I mean, the Purge movies, they were traditionally July movies. I think Election Year was a July 4th movie. So Terrifier could make that leap out of October into being a full summer movie to open with Shrek.
You're a blockbuster, baby. Don't sell yourself short. You gotta be in there with the dinosaurs. You gotta be in there with the Shreks. You got to be in there with the 1 or 2 superhero characters who still anybody gives a crap about.
Yeah.
Jump on in.
Yeah, because Wild Robot 2 is not going to be for years and years. I don't think Terrifier could wait for Wild Robot 2.
No.
It's got to team up with a different DreamWorks movie. And yeah, just go for it. Just team up with Shrek. Art the Clown and Shrek, summer 2026. You buy tickets to whichever one you want. You go see both.
Imagine that ticket. Listen, I don't talk about politics. We don't talk about politics on this show. But imagine the poster, Shrek, Art, 2026.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, that's viral marketing right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's holding Donkey's head.
Mm-hmm.
He's holding Donkey's head.
Oh, he's holding up Donkey's head, his severed head.
Yeah. That I hope that DreamWorks, Universal Studios, and Cineverse get in a room together and hash this out. Because the Wild Robot Terrifier team up was great. I think now we're fully on. It was a symbiotic relationship, and let's
a one-way symbiotic relationship. Let's just do a little context here. Terrifier 3, $50 million.
Yep.
Smile 2, $52 million. Right now, Smile, it's doing fine.
It's doing fine,
but it's not doing fine. Okay. It's not what you want for your sequel. You want it to do better, or at least close. It was just more of a crowded marketplace. Obviously, there's a fight out there. It's Terrifier 3 time. But these two movies being this close, I mean, this is a movie released by Cineverse. Right. Unrated. That's being treated like an R-rated movie when it really should be being treated like an X-rated movie, if we're being honest. But they're treating it like R. And it is so, and then listen, 30 million for Wild Robot, you put the kibosh on that. You're saying that's too much. But you got to at least give me the fact that this movie, Terrifier 3, would be making more than Smile 2 if these young people could buy tickets to it. You know what I mean?
Of
Like,
course, of
right?
course.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like there is at least $3 million of Wild Robot ticket money that Terrifier 3 deserves, and more than that.
And Smile 2 is rated R, right? It's not a PG-13, is
I
it?
believe Smile 2 is R.
Is R.
I can double check.
It is a big difference, though, even though it's not. It is a big difference in terms of how easy it is for teenagers to buy tickets to an R-rated movie. Because, I mean, versus an unrated, basically X-rated movie like Terrifier 3. Like, theaters, they could turn a blind eye. A kid goes up there, let me get 2 for Smile 2. They're not checking IDs. They sell the ticket. Kid goes in. With a Terrifier 3, unrated, basically X-rated movie, they're checking those IDs. They're not selling to these kids who want to go in. They could lose their license. They could lose their,
popcorn license.
So it is a difference. Kids under 17, unaccompanied by adults, are buying tickets to Smile 2 because that's just how things work.
Yeah. But I mean, there's nothing in Smile 2 that is going to truly disturb a kid, I wouldn't think.
Yeah. And either way, it is rated R, and Terrifier 3 is unrated. So they are just not going to sell those tickets to a 15-year-old who wants to go see Terrifier 3. Mm-hmm. So I think the thing with Smile 2 is it is doing well. I mean, that is a good hold. It only dropped 29%. It is a little bit of a question mark, I think, as to how automatic of a green light Smile 3 is.
Not automatic at all.
I think it's gonna happen because it's still, for a horror movie, making more than enough. 52 million. It made 6.8. It'll probably get to 60 million domestic, which, when they greenlit Smile, I mean, Smile 1 was supposed to go straight to streaming, Paramount Plus, but 60 million would have been a hit for the first one. And so I think you're at the point now where it's successful, but they're going to make less each time. But I still think it makes enough where they're going to make part 3, but I don't know if this is going to be you know what? It'll probably go on and on. Because, I mean, stuff like Final Destination, they made like 6 of them. There'll be a Smile 3, 4, 5 for sure. Mm-hmm. But the expectations just have to go lower. It's not a franchise where it's going to make $100 million domestic ever again. That was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, it is harsh to judge a movie like this on the crazy success of the predecessor, because 52 on this budget is good.
Yeah, it'll get itself over 60. It is a success. But
do you want to talk about something that's not a success?
All right, tell me what movie you're thinking.
Here.
Okay. Yeah, tough one to take. Made $5 million, open number 5,
but only in 2,647 theaters, right? So I'm not going to make an excuse for this movie.
Theaters, though. It's enough theaters.
But I mean, listen, that's not a lot of theaters for a major motion picture by a marquee director, at least at a time. It did better than Marwen did. Marwen opened to 2.5.
Wow, twice as much as Marwen's opening. I mean, it's Tom Hanks.
I mean, it's Hanks.
Steve Carell.
Well, that's the thing. And I mean, that is the thing, right? Yeah. So looking at the Anthony D'Alessandro must read every weekend right through. Mm-hmm. It's not the lowest for Zemeckis or Hanks, because we said, well, I was high actually. 2.3 was what Marwen opened to. Mm-hmm. Bonfire of the Vanities 4.2 for Hanks. Okay. And then a few of his pandemic releases. News of the World obviously doesn't really count.
No,
but
of course not.
66% of the audience were 45 years of age, with close to half over 55. This was older skewing, which we knew that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The reason people went, 64% Hanks.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So female skewing 58%, 72% Caucasian.
Okay.
14% Latino Hispanic, 6% Black, and 5% Asian. So this played pretty well in the South, it looks like, Midwest and mountain regions. So not a intelligentsia play. It wasn't in the New York, not a lot of Upper West Side dinner parties talking about here.
Right. Yeah, it just didn't click. It didn't have a premise that I think felt fun. I do think, we've seen, especially the last few years, you need the audience to have some hope of having fun at the theater to get them in a big way. And here did seem a little bit like a downer. You're going to go through someone's life, and we're all going through someone's life. And is that what people really want to see? It seemed like there'd be a lot of crying, but people they like crying when it's in a young romance way. Then you could have crying. I mean, we see that we live in time, but I don't think they want to see a movie in which upper middle-aged people are crying. That feels a little too close to home, I think, for the average moviegoer. Anthony D'Alessandro did bring up a Paz Zemeckis movie that did not initially open well, but then became a yearly perennial. Another weird movie, Polar Express.
A Hanks movie.
A Hanks movie that when it opened, people were like, this is strange. Audience didn't really click with it. Kind of underperformed in its first box office run, then kept building, come out every year. Has made tons and tons of money in its lifetime. So I'm throwing this out here. Could that be the story of Here? Could Here be the new Zemeckis and Hanks? They want it to be Zemeckis and Hanks making another Forrest Gump. Could Here be another Polar Express? Some kind of yearly, perennial, where people are like, man, that was really weird, but I want to show my kids. I want to see it again. I want to see it on the big screen every year. Is there any chance that is what Here becomes?
I think the difference is that Polar Express was explicitly a kids movie.
Yeah.
And this is not. This is for older people. Like, this is a movie about mortality that I don't think, because when you see Tom Hanks and Robin Wright de-aged, you think, you know what else I'm going to see? I'm going to see them up-aged.
Really old, yeah.
And I don't want to see, like, that's the other thing is, like, as soon as I saw a young Tom Hanks face, I thought, you know who I'm going to see die? Tom Hanks.
Yeah, and you don't want to see that.
And I don't want to see it. Yeah. Or he's watching Robin Wright die.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to see that.
And I don't want to see that either.
Yeah.
Now, there was a difference in Forrest Gump because she was young and beautiful.
Okay.
And I think like you were saying, there's something that's okay about that to people as opposed to old 80-year-old, 90-year-old Robin Wright dying.
Okay.
Because most of us are going to die that way.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
And so, and I'm not saying how she died in Forrest Gump was right or whatever, but what I'm saying is that there is a romanticism to dying young.
Yeah.
There's a romanticism to dying young.
Okay.
That people can, as a young person who knows nothing of life, can be like, oh, it's so romantic. And an older person can be like, well, I'm past that age, so that ain't going to happen to me. I ain't going to die young because I'm old as fuck. Right. So I think there is a thing about getting old and fragile and dying that people just do not want to see, especially two stars, one megastar and one
well-liked star
actor.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that there wasn't the promise of fun. If anything, there was the promise of just pure sadness. But yeah, A Polar Express is a kids movie that had a natural holiday because it was a Christmas movie. There's not a natural holiday for here to become a yearly perennial.
I mean, I bet you Zemeckis tried because he probably did every holiday. So it was smart in that way.
Yeah, we haven't seen this movie, so there still might be a way where you could connect this to a holiday that they celebrate in the course of the movie here. You know, well, we do have to see this because maybe there is.
We saw Marwyn.
Yeah, we did see Marwyn, but we
have to see this.
We have to see this, yeah. And maybe there is a big Easter celebration in here, and then turn this into an Easter perennial.
Well, doesn't Joe Coy have that? Doesn't he have Easter Sunday? His movie, isn't that a perennial at this point?
Yeah, that is true. I mean, we will have to see. Did that come out this past year? How old is that? Is Easter Sunday? That wasn't 2024, was it?
I gotta see if that's actually the name of the movie.
Did that movie come out 10 years ago?
That movie came out in 2022, my friend.
Wow. That's the new Mandela effect, is thinking that Easter Sunday just came out a few months ago. Wow. So here didn't do well, but We Live in Time. I think it is official to say that the stars are resonating with this movie. It's in its fourth weekend. It just made another $3.4 million, only dropped 28%. It's a weepy, you know? I mean, what their advertising is, here's two people and you're bopping around their life and one of them's sick. But
they're young, Pat. They're young and they're beautiful.
Yeah. And not to say Tom Hanks and Robin Wright Penn aren't currently beautiful. I think maybe that's not.
I said they're young and beautiful.
Yeah.
Those two are old and beautiful.
So,
but We Live in Time. This is how you platform a movie.
Yeah.
So many other movies since the pandemic, we've even said you can't platform anymore. It's very hard to platform. But you know how you can platform if you give them stars they want to see.
Yeah.
Because they'll wait. But you also have to do it so that it's not that long of a wait.
Right. And they've done a good job, and we've talked about this the last few episodes, that Miss Flo and with Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, they've been promoting this, and they've been promoting in the places where young audiences find it. They've been going on the online shows. They've been doing their TikToks. People know about this because of the stars. And I think this continues to be a real win for Miss Flo. And it gives her a movie that, when inevitably Thunderbolts asterisk bombs,
that asterisk
in the wake of Captain America Brave New World bombing, then Thunderbolts asterisk will bomb. But Miss Flo could point to, yeah, the superhero thing bombed, but We Live in Time way overperformed. I am starting to wonder if We Live in Time could overperform enough that it does get in the Oscar acting conversation. And I think it would be for Miss Flo. And I haven't seen this movie, but she naturally feels like the one.
They like him too, though. They like him too. I mean, the Academy likes him too.
Yeah.
So I think it could be
the Tick Tick Boom nom.
Yeah. It's possible. I mean, they love her. You know, I mean, if we have a year where it's like her and Saoirse Ronan, I mean, this is great. And the young lady from Anora, I mean, just like some young actors, you know, getting some noms, this like new generation, that's great, right?
Yeah.
So I think, yes, the box office, same thing with Conclave. I think the fact that Conclave is doing really well is really great indication for this movie. I mean, everybody's talking Brutalist and all this horseshit or whatever. Listen, I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm not going to say the movie's horseshit, but all this talk about the Brutalist is a slam doink. It's like, Dude, Conclave.
Well,
Like
let's talk about
Conclave is such
Yeah.
an Oscar movie. It's I mean, that is in my mind the front runner right now. And don't say it's just because I'm a BO boy, but I am a BO boy, at
Huh.
heart. Still, Conclave is looking pretty strong because how do you know? You look at the numbers. You look at the filthy lucre. That's how you
Yeah.
look at it.
Yep. Only dropped 20% in its second weekend. It's adding a couple of theaters, added 43 theaters. It's up to $15 million. This is a movie about priests hanging out in a room and talking.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference between something like Conclave and something like here is, would you keep hearing about Conclave? It's really fun. It's really crackling. It is a crowd pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
And that word is getting out. And I do think that Conclave is, I agree. It's starting to become more of a solid pick for Best Picture. And I think this is really helping Ralph Fiennes possibly become the front runner for Best Actor. If this movie keeps up at this pace, gets itself to 30 million, gets itself to 40 million, I mean, that's still a ways away. It's only at 15. But that's what happens with these Oscar frontrunners. If Conclave becomes the one that just the everyday moviegoer says, oh, that's the prestige movie that you'd have a good time at.
Yeah.
Then it's going to stay in that top 10 for weeks and weeks and months. And I do think it could become the highest grosser of the Oscar contenders, aside from the Dunes and the Wickeds and the Gladiator 2s that are blockbusters that might also get Oscar noms. But in terms of the art housey Oscar fare, Conclave really is setting itself up to be the hit.
And listen, I don't want to sound like a hater, okay? Because Wicked is going to be massive.
Oh,
it is going to be a massive box office hit. It is going to be great for theaters. We are Team Wicked over here.
Yeah.
But if I'm putting my Oscar hat on, the people who are reviewing this movie right now are people who they specifically had review this movie first to say Oscar, 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 right, and hope that it gets in people's heads.
Right.
I do not believe this as an Oscar movie. There could be noms, but I don't think it's going to be a juggernaut by any stretch of the imagination. But box office wise, oh baby, it's going to be a good holiday.
Yeah.
That and Gladiator 2, going to be a good holiday. Now, will Gladiator 2 be nominated for Best Picture? Probably not, huh? Come on.
But Conclave, back to Conclave, anything that you're feeling is the reason why this seems to be clicking right now as the adult drama that is actually scoring at the box office. Again, we've heard that it's crackling. We've heard that it's fun. I mean, is the priest thing appealing? Have we talked about it being a sneaky horror movie. I think that people have caught on to it not being a horror movie. That may have been what helped at the first weekend, being maybe this is like The Nun. But I don't think that's at play now. I think people know what it is when they're going.
Let me tell you, and we were both raised Catholic, correct?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna clue you in on something, Pat, because I'm in the streets. I talk to young people. The aesthetics of Catholicism are very hot right now.
Oh, okay.
Right. Just crucifixes, all that stuff. Hot, right? And it's been for a few years.
Okay.
That could be translating to people being interested in Conclave because it's all about the Catholic Church.
Okay.
And so they like the fits.
Okay.
And I think that has a lot to do with it. And also, I think it's an interesting sort of background for the sort of like political maneuvering that people are getting sick of when it comes to actual politics.
Okay.
And they still like the machinations, and they're like, oh, something that I can just like not I can enjoy these machinations, but not have to think about these other people. Right. I'm just thinking about these priests and this Pope and all this stuff.
Right. So
right?
people like machinations, but they don't like when machinations affect them in real life. But they like watching
They
machinations.
want a break from the machinations because.
But they want to watch the machinations. They don't want to.
No, they want to break from they want to still enjoy the machinations, but not in real life.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Got it.
It's like how people like murder shows, but they don't want to be murdered.
Right. They want to watch machinations that don't affect them. Yeah. Got it.
Okay. They like the fits.
And they like. I think you really hit on something there. That could really be it. That young people are just into the clothes and the accessories that Conclave is presenting.
Listen, we both were raised Catholic. The best thing about going to church was there was so much to look at.
Yes.
I mean, we're the religion that is like Jesus. The bigger the crucifix, the better. Yeah. Like if you walk into a church, the buff for the Jesus, the bigger that crucifix.
Yeah.
Like there's never been a crucifix too big for a Catholic church. I mean, physically, but if they could have it, it would fill up the whole thing, and you'd have, enough pews to keep things going. You got to give them money. You have to have people to pass the hat to.
Right. You can't
but still,
it can't be only crucifix inside of the walls of the church.
But just the size enough to fill those pews.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some big crucifixes in my life.
Yeah, I agree that there is definitely a trend now towards the aesthetics of Catholicism. Not that they care about the teachings or any of that, but they like the look. They like the look of it. LEWK, obviously. So that could be it. And, maybe Ray Fiennes has got to take advantage of that and start doing some, downtown Dime Square photo shoots in his priest outfit.
He should go eat at Bridge dressed as his character.
Yeah.
But zhuzh it up just a little bit, like bling it out a little bit.
Yeah. Conclave is going to be fun to follow the next couple of weeks. I mean, my God.
I'm excited for Conclave. I mean, I want to see this movie. Not that I wasn't going to see it anyway, because it's an Oscar movie. I mean, whether it wins or not, I mean, this is an Oscar movie, so it's a must-see. And Isabella Rossellini. Come on.
Yeah.
Like
she's getting Oscar buzz, sort of
back.
One scene performance Oscar buzz, which you love to see that. Let someone come on, hit a home run, go to sleep, and get the Oscar nomination.
Yes.
They don't need to be in there the whole hour and a half.
No, they're supporting.
Yeah. So we haven't even said anything about the movie that came in number 1 this weekend, and that was Venom 3, Venom: The Last Dance. Clayton, I do think we got to give it up to this movie because it held. It only dropped 49%. It made $26 million in its second weekend. It's now up to $90 million. And last episode, we were sitting here saying this movie is terrible. It's going to fall off a cliff. We were predicting Morbius type drops. We were saying it was going to end up making somewhere in the teens, and it made $26 million. So Venom is not Deadpool. That was very clear this year.
Well, yeah.
It is,
but Venom did not have the added value of Wolverine.
Well, yeah, no, it didn't, but they had been neck and neck to some degree in their first 2 movies, and there's a clear disparity for part 3s here. But, which is all to say, Venom is a strong character because this is a terrible movie, even by the standards of these Venom movies, but people just wanted to hang out with Venom. Not to the degree that they used to, obviously, because these movies used to open 80, 90 million, and Venom 3 is now just hitting 90 million its second weekend. But a 49% drop for a number 1 movie does show there wasn't the same rush to go see Venom, but people do still want to catch up with Venom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
At least a level higher than we were expecting coming into the second weekend.
Yeah, I mean, this is best case scenario, really. I mean, we knew this movie wasn't going to drop. There's no way this movie drops in the 30s, but like only 49 is really great, even though yes, it opened lower. But like you said, we were expecting doom and gloom, and this thing's already at 90. So
Yeah.
they kept the budgets good because it's Sony.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's the good and bad of that, because the movie does not look
Looks
that
terrible.
great. It looks terrible. But they did save. The money was not on the screen,
No.
but the money also wasn't spent, because sometimes you see a movie with a $200 million budget, a Joker Folly Doo Doo, and the money's not really on the screen,
No.
but the money was spent. And
Mhm.
in Venom, yeah, there's less money on the screen, but they didn't spend the money. So it does look like what its budget is.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wonder if the Halloween weekends would affect that. Were the Venom fans partying the weekend before Halloween, but then Halloween was on a Thursday, so then they were free to go see this on a Friday and Saturday?
No, I mean, I just think it's the simple answer is that it didn't have an added value, and Venom was cool, but not cool enough for like everybody to stay on the Venom bandwagon forever.
Yeah, yeah. And have a couple of weeks before Red One comes out, and then Red One will come out and also mean nothing the weekend it comes out. So Venom 3 does have a few more weekends to rack up some more cash.
Let's
This
just be
coming.
in the big movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Next Friday, the 8th, it's pretty much the big movie. It'll be number one again. We'll talk about that in the preview episode. And
Well,
then
listen, Juror number 2 expansion.
it ain't going to happen. People are clamoring for it, but that's just is not going to happen because of the man in charge until he gets voted out, God willing, on Tuesday. So, but I think even then, even if, the Warner Brothers board of directors gets the vote together on Tuesday, finally rids us of Zaslov, so we don't have to think about him anymore, I don't think even that's going to lead to the Juror number 2 theater expansion. I think that the wheels were already in motion on that. It ain't happening.
Yeah.
It should happen. It's not going to happen. These things don't. You can't change course with all these thousands and thousands of movie theaters so quickly. But yeah, Venom 3, it's got a couple of weeks to rack up some more money. It's going to be the lowest grossing of the three by far, but I don't think this franchise is dead. We didn't end up having a Morbius situation.
Well, it's the last one, though.
Well, it could be the last one for Hardy. I think clearly Sony is going to want to do more Venom movies. And there was a situation here where if this drops 70-80% in its second weekend, or drops 70%, they'd be hard pressed to be able to really justify a big budget new Venom movie. But I think it's going to hold well enough that they'll be able to in a couple of years. Do you want to dip into the mailbag?
We got to, Pat. We have to, only because it's so important, these emails we got. Not that our normal emails aren't important, but as you said, one of the most important weeks in BO Boys history.
Yeah.
We need historic emails, and I think we have a few.
Yeah, we've got the mailbag has been swelling, so let's get to it.
It's engorged.
The mailbag's engorged, so let's get a little release for this.
Lance it.
We got an email from wannabe oh boy Jason. This was about a week and a half ago. He sent this. Jason says, Oscar for Terrifier, ? Hey guys, I feel an Oscar nom for the director of Terrifier 3 is exactly what the award is for. He's a visionary. He's created art that people love. He did it with his own hard work. However, I feel like there is between zero and no chance this movie gets any recognition outside of horror awards. Clayton, do you think there's any path to Damien Leone's Terrifier 3 getting any kind of, let's not even say nomination, is there anything where conceivably the day before nominations, people are teasing this might happen.
No, but I do think at some point we're gonna see him in the future get his due. Probably for something not as, you know, um, uh, gory as Terrifier 3. I do think this is a, director who is gonna get their due, in the future, and maybe not for the stuff that really got people as excited. Like, it's feeling Scorsese, right? Like,
Okay.
Scorsese didn't get anything for Mean Streets. He didn't get anything for Raging Bull. He didn't get it. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
I think I think he's gonna get something for his more later day mature work, but not Terrifier.
Okay. So
That's my
Terrifier
thought.
3, though, there's no makeup, there's no category where it could make any noise
I mean,
this year.
special effects, it absolutely should, but it won't.
So let's move on. We got an email from wannabe oh boy Brandon. Subject: Ketchup Entertainment. Hey guys, seeing that Kevin Costner is in dire straits in the process of being unhoused, do you think he does a movie for Ketchup Entertainment? He probably can't afford to eat anything but condiments, so it fits. That's interesting. Has Ketchup Entertainment ever paid any of its talent in purely ketchup packets? Because that could be a deal that Kevin Costner would be willing to strike in his current financial state. Make a movie for Ketchup Entertainment. They supply him, maybe not just with ketchup, but actually tomatoes. Let him eat a real tomato before it becomes ketchup.
Well, it depends on how he behaves on set, I feel.
Well, I mean, he's never been a problem on set, really, right? Kevin Costner has just been more maybe in the editing room, but I think that he's generally been liked on set.
No, what I'm saying, but the thing with that is that he's hit hard times, Pat. I mean,
Yeah.
and you don't know how he's going to react to it. So I do think that it's like, hey, if he's, coming and doing the work and not saying like, I had 4 movies that were going to come out. You know what I mean? Like,
Right,
as long as the sour grapes aren't showing, then he gets his ketchup. That's all I'm saying. He gets his tomato as long as the sour grapes don't show up.
Right. Yeah, I think that could be a good team. What did Ketchup Entertainment have recently that we were talking about? Ketchup Entertainment has had a movie in the last month, and I can't.
It was the Michael Keaton Mila Kunis movie.
Right, of course. It was Goodrich, which does not seem to be in the top 20, 30. I'm scrolling down the numbers, and Goodrich must be pretty much out of theaters at this point. God, I'm seeing Deadpool and Wolverine still in 100 theaters. The Am I Racist movie still in 13 theaters. Is Goodrich fully out?
The what?
Goodrich is, I guess, out of theaters. So yeah, Ketchup Entertainment and Kevin Costner, that could be a combo that makes sense. So we got an email from wannabe oh boy Matt in Maine, and the subject is Red One target audience. I caught the Red One trailer at my 10-year-old kid last night. I asked him if he was interested in the movie, and he said, "No, Dad, that looks so cheesy." My wife and I similarly have no interest. This movie isn't for the rats. It's not for the adults. It's not for the babies. No one is going to watch this movie. This will be a bomb beyond Black Adam's wildest imagination. So much so that The Rock will probably have to start peeing in a cheaper water bottle brand going forward. I mean, not to harp on the peeing in containers subject again, but I mean, with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, you can't look away from it.
Pat, he started it.
Is Red One going to be such a bomb that he has to downgrade from Voss to an Aquafina or a Pure Life, Nestle Pure Life
baby
water bottle?
It's Dasani time.
Is that the lowest form of water bottle to empty out and pee into? Is Dasani lower than Nestle Pure Life?
Yes, I think so.
Wow.
I mean, at least Aquafina gets some shine from somebody taking on that moniker.
Yes. I agree. I think that, it's a downgrade from Voss in terms of the way the container is manufactured, because a Voss water bottle, really solid. Makes sense if you're a movie store that's got a pee in a water bottle, Voss is the way to go. Aquafina has the most name value next. But Dasani being the lowest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Red One could bomb to that level. It could bomb to Dasani level for The Rock.
Dasani time.
Matt, yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it in a couple of weeks when this movie comes out, but I mean, that's pretty much our thought too, is who is this for?
It's for no one.
It's for no
It's
one.
got the
Daddy,
Marvel.
that looks cheesy. That looks cheesy. Wow, Matt, your kid really said it all right there.
It's got the Marvel sense of humor without any connection to anything anybody would want to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That is going to be, I mean, listen, that is the movie that we will have seen when we take the stage on November 16th at the Boston Comedy Studio with KIRK Minihan. We will have been coming off as of now, still empty screening of Red One. Clayton, you and I have tickets to Friday afternoon.
You
Red
checked
One
on
in
it.
Boston. I checked on it a few days ago, and it was still just the two of us.
Okay.
So we will be fresh off of seeing Red One when we take the stage in Boston Saturday, November 16th, our final live show of the year. That movie is going to be historic. So let's move on. We got an email from wannabe oh boy Javier. We love Javier.
The great Javier.
He says, talent video proposal, dear BO boys. There was unfortunately no talent show this month to showcase my act. Now, editor's note, for those of you who don't remember, we first met Javier, the college student, who at a college talent show went on stage, had people shout out the names of movies from the past, and he would give their domestic and international box office totals. Someone would be on a computer, would connected to the projector, would show the answer behind him, and he said he was nailing it every time. So that was his talent that he was putting on the talent show. So Javier says, there was unfortunately no talent show this month to showcase my act. That being said, I would still love to send you guys a video of me doing my talent and wanted to know what you think of that idea. Me and my friends have been thinking about doing this for a while. With your live show going so great, I find myself inspired to do this. As always, please keep doing what you do, and I'm currently at work on the next school survey. Javier.
Great. Thank you.
I think, Clayton, me and you should sit down and figure out how best to harness Javier's talent on this show. Because it's a great act. You know, whether this is something we want to get a video of, we want to have him on the show. Do we want to travel with him as like more of a circus act? Is the other question.
Nightmare Alley style.
Yes. Exactly. Do we want to, and I'm not saying he has to live in a cage on a truck, but be in it for some amount of time as we go from town to
Just
town.
for transport. It's the safest way to travel.
Yes. We're thinking of the act, which is how we refer to him both in the contract that he signs without a lawyer and when we talk to him face to face. The act. It's the safest way for the act to travel.
The act in question, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we will sit down, Javier. Clayton and I are going to figure out the best way to maximize your potential as the act, monetize the act, best ways to travel the act. And we will get back to you, but this is a great act that we will have you sign the life rights away to. And it'll be great for all of us. Yeah, I love this. Thank you, Javier. We will be talking to you soon, and can't wait for the next survey. These surveys, seeing what the college kids are interested in, always super helpful here on the BO Boys.
Yes, boots on the ground.
Next, we got a great email from wannabe oh boy Dylan. Dylan says, "Dear Clayton and Pat, what a humbling experience Thursday's episode was. Granddaddy making house calls. Good on you guys for being men, owning Granddaddy's disappointment, and retiring Cry Macho. David Zaslov." He nailed him with a nickname, but still just sick of hearing about this guy, even with the nicknames. It's too much. But anyway, continuing, Dylan says, "David Zaslov's headline on Variety was damning to say the least. I would like to add a few more persons of interest that Granddaddy forgot on his outing in the Oldsmobile. Juror number 2 is a court drama thriller. What else like that in the past month has come out and put fear in Zaslov? Joker folly you do. That's right. Granddaddy needs to drive out to the mansions of Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix for their roles in Juror number 2's murder. What should replace Cry Macho? I nominate Fly Me to the Moon, as in this movie flew itself to the moon this past weekend. It opened at the threshold of 4.5 million. It continues the tradition of operating as a verb, and it has the added bonus of beating on Apple PP Plus and their bad decisions even more. Love the podcast and you two fellas, from a proud Midwest fan, Dylan. All right, a lot to unpack there, Clayton. First off, of course, had to mention David Zaslov. Sick of hearing about this guy. Let's vote him out, get rid of him, and we don't have to hear about him anymore. But he brings up Joker, Folly You Do, as a movie that may have poisoned the well at Warner Brothers for courtroom movies. Do you buy into that at all? I mean, I disagree for one reason, which is David Zaslov, sick of hearing about this guy, get rid of him, had already made the decision that Juror number 2 would not get a real release even before Joker, Folly You Do bombed. But what do you think, Clayton?
Yeah, I do think that the timing doesn't necessarily work out.
Yep.
But it does not seem like something Zaslav wouldn't do, at some point. I mean, I can see why the connection was made, because, this guy's erratic, his judgment is bad, and he's a bozo. So of course this could all, anything is possible with this guy.
Yeah.
Right.
What's so dangerous about having him in charge of Warner Brothers? It's not just embarrassing, it's dangerous. And
a venerable institution. So, but just to say the other part of this email, I mean, it's all great, but the most important one is that we did officially, and we'll only say this now, because the context is needed. We used to say Cry Macho for any movies that opened around $4.5 million.
Yep.
And we said it with love, but it was weaponized.
Yes.
It was weaponized by Zaslov himself.
Yep.
And so we are retiring using that term. We will not use, after this episode, we will not refer to a movie crying macho. We will not. The only movie that cried macho is Cry Macho.
Yes.
And I don't think we'll ever have to use it in that context.
No.
So we are looking for a replacement, and Dylan came up with an excellent replacement. But there is an email from someone else who also has an option.
So we're looking at that email now from wannabe oh boy Anthony, who we did get to meet out in Los Angeles at the live show. Great
we did.
You out there, wannabe oh boy Anthony. Anthony wrote, "Hey BO boys, as a way to honor the past and embrace the future of what could take the place for a movie to cry macho on its opening weekend, my suggestion for a new title would be To Crow Macho, since The Crow, a Lionsgate joint, essentially cried macho in its debut outing. Smell you at the BO, wannabe oh boy Anthony." So we got two options right there. So Dylan, his replacement for Cry Macho is Fly Me to the Moon, and we could say that this movie flew itself to the moon.
Yes.
And then Anthony wants to honor the memory of Cry Macho and use Crow Macho.
Can I speak on this?
Fantastic. Yes, go.
Fantastic. I'll speak on this because I love the wordplay of Crow Macho.
Mm-hmm.
My fear, and it's a true fear, and it's an accurate fear, because listen, we were calling Jenna
Mm-hmm.
Ortega Jenny Ortega for months and months and months.
And months and months, yes.
We were saying Zendaya instead of Zendaya.
Yes.
If you put Crow Macho in front of us, guess what we're saying?
Yeah.
We're so used to it. We're saying Cry Macho.
We're gonna.
So we're gonna accidentally keep saying it. We're gonna accidentally keep disrespecting it. We're gonna accidentally continue to make it seem like Zaslov's decision was correct when it was not.
Mm-hmm.
That is my reason why we can't say Crow Macho, because we will not be able to say it. We are, that is a failing on our part, not on a failing of the idea or the the offering that we were given, this great offering.
Yeah.
I love It Flew Itself to the Moon.
Yeah.
Because the stars of that movie are going to be fine, probably. I don't know. Channing Tatum, maybe not, but we can get into that later.
He's got to do Shirt Off My Back. The movie based on his famous
shirts.
Quote about how he buys new shirts every day so he doesn't have to wash shirts. That should be his next movie. That is what would save Channing Tatum.
And listen,
Shirt Off My Back.
If you get, listen,
shirts.
Warner Brothers, you vote out Zaslov, guess what? Guess what we're bringing to the table? We're bringing that to you.
Yeah.
As soon as he's gone, you're getting Shirt Off My Back, 365 shirts. So I think that, listen, this TV talent who directed that movie,
who directed Fly Me to the Moon,
we have no respect for him. He does not deserve our respect. Therefore, we will never retire that. Mm-hmm. We will never retire that, because there's nothing that could happen to him or he could do that could make us respect him the way we respect Clint Eastwood, who's a 90-something-year-old who only a few years ago directed Kathy Bates to an Oscar nomination, and also a year or so before that made a movie that went over $100 million domestically, right? Mm-hmm. There's nothing that this TV talent will ever do to make us retire this. So I'm saying, I think we should officially switch it to This Movie Flew Itself to the Moon.
Or This Movie Flew to the Moon. This past weekend. So if Here, which did open to 5, so it doesn't qualify, but if Here had this weekend open to 4.4 million, we could say Here Flew Itself to the Moon.
Mm-hmm.
Or Here Flew to the Moon. Yeah, this is the way to go. This is the way to go. I think we give it another week, see if any other contenders emerge. So email us at theboboyspodcast@gmail.com if you have any late possibilities for the Cry Macho replacement for movies that finish 4.5 million or less. But Fly Me to the Moon, Flew Itself to the Moon. This right now seems like a real strong one. A real strong one.
I love it. Yeah, but again, this is a society where we have a choice.
Yes.
And so we don't just we don't want just two options. We got two options. We want more options.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's not officially designated yet, but it's the front runner, and only because, like I said, it starts with CR, and there's only two different letters.
Yeah.
For Crow Macho, we're gonna mess it up.
Yeah, I don't have faith in us to say Crow Macho by the second time. It's Cry Macho, and then we're like,
we're like F it, F. I'm so mad. F.
Yeah. And then we're flying off the handle. Yeah. So email us theboboyspodcast@gmail.com if you have a final last minute contender for the Cry Macho replacement. And of course, just email us your boots on the ground reporting, your predictions, your thoughts. Red One early reviews are dropping, I think, in the next day or so. I'm starting to see online some of the critics who've seen it starting to put out notices, and there's going to be screenings of it in the next week. So if you are someone who sees Red One early, we want that boots on the ground reporting. Email us theboboyspodcast.
I can't wait for that. Anthony D'Alessandro. D is for Dead One, because that is going to be his headline for Red One.
Dead One. Wow.
Dead One.
Doing his work for him.
He was going to get there.
He would have got there. So, yeah. Of course, follow us on social media at the BO Boys Pod on TikTok. Still on Twitter X, though that's probably being phased out pretty soon. Instagram is where it's at. That is where the BO Boys Pod is really thriving with the vertical video clips, courtesy of the newly promoted wannabe VP of Interns, Christopher. He's killing it with the vertical clips across multiple platforms. So follow us at the BO Boys Pod. 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Of course, we are YouTubers. Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
So watch every episode of the BO Boys on our YouTube channel. The New York City live special is up there. Our special on the YouTube channel. We're working on things for that channel for the future. So get excited for that. But every episode on the YouTube channel.
And Pat, can you really quickly, because I got around to watching it, and masterfully shot. Can you give a shout out to our director?
Of course. So the person who filmed it is wannabe oh boy Jordan. Great kid, up and coming director, cinematographer. He is working on a feature film that could be the next Clerks. I mean, I've seen some dailies from this movie that he's working on with his creative partners in New York. And this guy, Jordan, wannabe oh boy Jordan, Jordan Rowe, he allowed us to use the name, the credits. I will say it on the show. Jordan Rowe, great job shooting the BO Boys New York City special. And that's on YouTube. And, look up this guy, hire him while you still have a chance before the feature film becomes the next Clerk, Sundance sensation. And then you're not going to be able to hire him.
Well, and I just wanted to clarify, by you saying the next Clerks, you're not referring to Clerks 4. You're referring to the next movie that would be like Clerks.
Yes. He
so
is not
the quality
to take over for Kevin Smith and direct Clerks 4. No, I'm saying the indie movie that he is working on right now has the potential to have Clerks-like resonance in pop culture.
Yes. Great. Great clarification.
We'll a lot going on for him, but he directed the BO Boys live special in New York City. Great job. So check that out and check out Jordan.
And you said a great guy, obviously, met him for the first time, walked up to him. He stood up, shook my hand, great handshake, looked me right in the eye. One of his idols. I mean, listen, I'm one of his idols. Okay. Yeah. And this kid was unfazed. He was a peer. And to work in this industry and to succeed in this industry, you have to act like you're a peer.
Yeah, even when I was like, of course, he's not actually a peer, but he acted to fake it. Yes.
But for a second there, I was like, "Is this my peer?" And then I was like, "Oh, of course, not my peer." But you know what? I'm going to speak to him like he's my peer. You know why? Because this kid's going places.
Right. And if the firm handshake was key, you got to really try and break a finger.
Absolutely. And eye contact is huge. Don't look at your sneakers. Don't look at your sneakers, kids.
No. Look them in the eye. Try and break their hand.
Yeah.
Act like you're a peer, even though, of course, you're not.
He's not a peer. I mean, he's not a peer.
But great job filming the New York special. That's on YouTube. And we said it, the Boston live show, November 16th, KIRK Minihan will be reviewing Red One, which we'll have just seen. And we'll be previewing Wicked and Gladiator 2, which come out just days later. So that is going to be a giant show. So, Clayton, that's all I got. My God, I am spent.
Pat, you've said it all. Maybe too much. And there is absolutely 100% Nothing else to be said.
All right, thank God. I gotta go.
Except for until next time.
We'll
smell you at the
box
box office.